In today's show, we're going to look at PowerApps Collections a little bit deeper. In the previous video, we did an introduction. So now we're going to take that introduction video and advance those concepts. We're going to look at things like emailing out the contents of a collection, how to count them, do some sums, some different math type of stuff. If you are building a true shopping cart, we need to do some math things. And then maybe at the end, we'll do a little bit of formatting, make them look a little nicer in the gallery view as well. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with Bold Zebras, those guys. And today's show is about taking your PowerApp collections and going the next step. Based on that first video, link below if you haven't set it up, people have asked me some different questions about how to work with their collections now that they've gotten their data in there. So things like, how do I email out all the contents of the collection? We'll tackle that first. How do I do some math, some sum type of stuff? We'll look at that second. And then finally at the end, if I have enough time, we'll probably do a couple of things around formatting to make it a little nicer, a little easier to work with. We'll see if we get there. All right. So I'm kind of excited about this one because, once again, it's just taking your PowerApp skills one more step further. Nothing complex here, just breaking it down into baby steps so we can do better things. All right, let's just switch over to my desktop and get started. All right, over here on my desktop, so this is the form that we built in that previous video. Nothing complicated here. It was just something I did, right? It's clearly very ugly, but it let me introduce collections the first time. So let's just continue to make this thing uglier. And the first question I got, right, actually let's hit play, let's fill in some data. Right, simple, we'll just do some data in there. And collections are a lot easier when you're building the app. If you got a little bit of data in there, it just makes everything connect for you. And the first thing we want to tackle, first question I got was, how do I email the contents of this collection, right? There's a previous one where I walked through how to send out an email based on a SharePoint data source, which is down below if you want to see it. But here I wanted to take and talk about how to do this collection because we wanted to kind of break it up into pieces, and I had to learn a couple little things to make this work well for him. All right, so let's insert ourselves a button. We'll grab this button, we'll drag it over here. Oh, I missed. Drag it over here, and we'll say, email our collection. All right. And so with that, now that we've got that, what we're going to do is the first thing we actually need to do is connect to our Outlook data source, right? So view data sources. I don't have a data source right now, so we're going to add one. After a couple seconds, that shows up, and we're going to choose Outlook. Now, if you don't see Outlook there, then you'll need to go through the process of connecting to Outlook. It's pretty straightforward, not a big deal, so I don't want to cover that again. All right, so now that we've done that, we're going to set our email our collection button. We can do Office 365 dot send email. Now, and once again, if you don't see that, that's because you didn't connect your collection yet. All right, so who do we want to send it to? We're just going to hard code the to address in this one. So shane.young@boldzebras.com, like so. And then we'll just say, here's our email subject, right? Now remember, you can feed both of these off of forms or data in the collection or anything you want. You don't have to use hard-coded stuff. I just did because it's easier for us here. All right, so that gets us a email to me. Email is a subject. It's going to come from whoever is logged into the Power App. And so then finally we need to set the body. And so this is where we need to learn some new stuff. And so to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a new function to you called the concat function. Now notice concatenate's right below it. We don't want concatenate. Concatenate we use all the time. We just didn't know it. Concatenate is every time you do the at symbol, or the ampersand, right? The and symbol. That's really just running the concat function for you. So, or the concatenate function for you. We want to use the concat function because read the text. Joins all text values produced by evaluating the given expression over the given table into one text value. Well, our collection is a table, so we're going to go through that, and then we're going to build out what we need to see here. All right, so we're going to use that. So we'll hit enter, we get a little thing. So what table, or we know our collection is named concat or contact info, so we'll use that. And then for our comment here, or we'll do a comma, and so then what is the expression? So then this is where you get to build out the string that will be your email. And then the cool thing though is it's going to go through the whole collection and do it. So what we're going to use here is we're going to kind of work through. So I'm going to say, all right, I want to say name. And so we know if I'm putting it in quotes like this, it's a string. So I'm going to put a string in there. And then we're going to use the concatenate, right, the ampersand. And then we're going to put the name value from the collection. Cool, cool. And then we're going to do another and. We're going to introduce another new function, and that's called char or car or care. Or, right, it stands for character. But what you do is you can pass this guy a ASCII character code, and it'll insert it into, in this case, our email. And so what I'm doing is I use this ASCII code table on Bing, but ASCII code 10 is a line feed, aka a return. Because as we build out our email, right, I want to have name on one line, then hit enter, and have a second line that's going to have our phone number, and then our third line, which will then be our comments. All right, so we'll do a little of this. We'll say and again, and so all right. So we got name, boom. All right, so let's do our phone number. So then we'll say phone number. And I'm doing the colon and the space. So there's a little spacing there. Another ampersand. And then we're going to use the phone field from our collection. And then we're going to do another char 10, which will get us another line, right? Okay, and then finally our last line here will be comments, space like that, boom. And then we'll do comments here, just like that, and char 10. So then that would get us, you know, a new line. And then what I'm gonna do, because I like things to look nice, I'm gonna put a second new line here. So then that way there's an extra line break between each one of the items in there. So that's all that I need there. Then we need to close our concat function and then close our send email function. So we'll put those parentheses at the end, and that should take care of it. So if we go over here, let's hit play. Let's add a third item in here. 3, oh, we'll name it 3, why not? 3, you are here, 3. All right, so now we have 3 items in our collection. We're going to say email our collection. So we'll hit the button and see the little dots going across the top. And then we'll pause for 1 second while I grab it out of my email box, and we'll drag it over here and we'll talk about it together. Okay, so it literally took like 2 seconds, but I got a drink of water in the process. Shh, don't tell anybody. All right, and so let's close out of this real quick. And what I want to show you, so we'll put our code back up here and we'll put our email in place. And let's just compare. So it was to Shane Young. Yep, to Shane Young. Here's our email subject. Here's our email subject. It's from mod administrator because that's who I'm logged into. And then you can see that just as we had hoped, this all broke down. So name, Shane. Oh, you can see my spacing was bad here. So next time, all right, we'll get rid of that space there. We'll put the space on this side. So that way we'll have a nicer spacing for Shane. So then Shane, phone number's 12, comments is hello, our extra line break. And then it did the next one in the collection, extra line break, and then the next one. That's pretty cool, right? That was one of the very first questions I got was, how do I email out the contents? And as you can see, I kind of did a complex thing there. So that way you could really think it through and understand. You could do lots of different pieces there. We could, you know, add more data in there. We could, you know, put maybe the sum of all the items in there. With my SharePoint list, I put links into the email. And just remember, char 10 is your line break. And you can use other ASCII codes, but that's the only one I've had to come up with. Char 32 is a space, but we know how to do a space just by you know, concatenating space into quotes. So pretty cool, right? So we got an email sent from our collection. Yay us. All right. So then the next question I got was, all right, well, now that I've got all of these items in there, I want to do some math, right? I want to add up how much it costs for all the items in there. No problem. This was a really easy one, actually. So we're going to say insert a label. We'll drag this down here. Kind of make it a little bigger. And so we're going to say total of cart. And we'll call it collection. Okay, that's what we did. So total of collection, like this. We'll do this and this. Get my spacing right. I don't want no more disasters like that email where it didn't look right. So just like that. So total of collection, and then all you're going to do is use the sum function. So hit sum. Now, when you start to use sum, it's like, hey, you have to put in a number. You're like, I don't have a number yet. One of the things to remember with a lot of the PowerApps functions is there's more than one way you can use them. So by default, it just wants me to put in a sum, right? So I can do sum 1, 2, 2 like that. And so then it says 1 plus 2 plus 2 is 5. Yeah, that's great. That's not what I want. Let's go back up here. Let's delete this. The other thing I can do is I can offer it a collection, right? So what was the name of our collection? It was contact info, right? So do contact info, and then do a comma, and it's like, oh, you want to do this for a table, no problem. So you pass me contact info, I can use that, and then what expression do you want? And we're just going to say we just want to sum the phone field. And so just like that, you can see that 12 plus 13 is 25 plus 3 is 28. So just that fast, we were able to sum up that data using the sum functionality. Now, so that reminds me, right, come over here if you're wondering about these things. So then you can find like the sum. And so then you could read through the article that talks about the fact that there's two different ways to use sum. There's also a bunch of different things, right? Standard deviation, min, max, average, all those type of things. So there's other things that you could be doing. Now keep in mind that some of the functions, like sum, support a table. The function square root, for example, doesn't. And so to use square root, you have to use for all. That one gets a little more complicated. We're not going to get into that today, but a lot of what I was asked for was just this basic summing functionality. Now, looking at this though, I was like, wait a minute, but how do I do subtractions? Well, there's not a subtraction function. So it turned out I could just do sum and then put a minus in front of phone. And so now it's negative 28. And I was like, well, maybe that's not really working the way I thought. Because I was like, I was skeptical, right? This was me talking to myself. That's what happens when I'm down here in this basement. But so then let's go in here, let's add another one. And so we'll add the number -3, which should then change this to 25, right? Add to collection, boom. So it truly is doing a math operator, right? So it's doing a minus of those. So I thought that was important to note because it took me a couple minutes to figure out how the heck you did subtraction. So that would be it. All right, so that was one. The next thing we want to do is get another label here, drag it down here, is you can count the number of rows. How many rows in the collection? And so with that, then we'll do like so, we'll do a space, right? We'll do our ampersand, and then we'll do a count rows. How easy is that? Contact info, boom. We'll make this a little bigger. And so there's currently 4 in there. This was important for me in a project I just did for a customer, right? I needed to do a count of the rows, and if it was greater than 0, right? We were checking for if items had been installed. So if the count was greater than 0, then not all the items were installed. Then I had to go and pop up an error message. You have more work to do before you can submit this work order and things like that. So this is a handy little function. Just count rows and then just a table. Then I needed to get it a little more complicated. So let's grab a third one here. Let's put it down here. And so we'll have another one here. We're going to say how many rows with Shane in name. All right. And so for this particular request, what we're going to do is we're going to look at something called CountIf. And so then CountIf is contact info. And then what we'd say is name equals Shane. So let's see, we'll pull this out sideways. All right, so right now it's 1. And so then if we add another item up here in my collection, add to collection, so then now it's 2, right? So that one's pretty interesting for us because a lot of times that's what you do, right? Count if blah or blah. Now, one of the things to remember though is things like count if is not a delegatable command, right? You can't count if against a SharePoint collection. Things like count rows and the sums and that type of stuff, you can absolutely use that against a data source like your SharePoint or Excel or SQL. But CountIf is not a delegatable command. I need to do a whole video on delegatable commands. Not ready to do that one yet, but we'll get to that at some point. So just keep in mind, if you get the little blue warnings that CountIf doesn't work with your data source, that's because you're pointing it at something else. But CountIf always works with a local collection like this. So cool. All right, now the other weird thing though, let's show you one more weird thing about CountIf though. It is case sensitive. So if we add Shane, spelled like this, add to collection, number with Shane in it is still 2, right? Because Shane E. So this is a case sensitive match that we're doing here. So contact name is Shane. So what do you do if you don't want it to be case sensitive? Good question. Oh, what you could do is you could take advantage of the lower function. So we could say lower name equals, and then we'll just type Shane and Shane. And so then now when we hit play, you can see that we have 3 right away. Because what the lower function does is that just converts the text inside the name column to all lowercase, right? It's not changing your source data, which is important. We don't want to mess up our data. We're just bringing it all to lowercase, and then I'm just making sure the string that I'm typing in over here is lowercase, and then I'm just doing a lowercase to lowercase comparison. So keep that in mind. Some functionality inside of Power Apps is case sensitive, some is not, and you just need to kind of tread lightly, or not tread lightly, but think it through and make sure your solution makes sense. The other thing is maybe you want to do this CountIf, and then you want to like let the user type in, what name you want to compare against. That's fine. You're probably not going to get the users to always type in all lowercase. It'd just be a lot easier to take whatever they type in and convert it to lowercase. So, and we could have done that, right? We could have said lower, and then we'll change this to, SHANE like that. And it's going to take care of all of that for us, right? So we'll close the parentheses. And so it's still giving us a 3 because it's lowercasing what I typed in. Kind of silly. It's an extra wasted CPU cycle for me to type in uppercase to convert it lower. But if your users were providing the input, then you'd want to convert that as well. All right. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense too. That's nothing new there. All right. So we got a couple more minutes here. So the last couple of things I want to look at is just some formatting stuff, because this comes up a lot for me as well. And so the first one I want to do is, right now, you don't know what item is selected in here, right? So when I select different items, there's really no indicator. If the box is there, then maybe it gives you a hint, but it just depends on what mood it's in. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our gallery. So let's go over here, click on gallery 1. And what you can take advantage of is what is called the template fill. And so in the template fill, what we could say is if this item dot is selected, right? So if the current item in the gallery is selected, then what we want to do is we want to set the template fill to yellow. If it's not, we're going to set it to white. So we'll do like that. And so then now you get this nice little ooh, ah, e, o, whichever one currently selected is yellow. Other things that I've seen people do with this particular template fill, right, and that is set on the gallery level. Power Apps keeps bringing me back to weird places. Is that they'll set the template fill and like they'll have an ID, so they'll essentially say, the first one is dark gray, the second one is light gray, dark gray, light gray, and they'll just use a repeating, if ID is a positive number, make it gray. If it's if it's an even number, not positive. If it's an odd number, make it 1. If it's the other, make it the other. You can do a lot of things, right? If is your friend. You just have to be able to figure out the logic that will let you derive what you want to do. That was probably really confusing. I apologize, but hopefully you got the idea. You can set these. You can make shaded galleries and things like that. And so speaking of galleries, the other thing I just want to make sure you guys are really thinking about is galleries are completely customizable, right? So it gave me my gallery. I've got this little card here, but I can grab this guy, right? Let's click on the whole card. I can make him bigger. And then once I made him bigger, maybe I want to make this number smaller, this one smaller, and then I want to insert something here. So we'll insert another label. We'll drag it down a little bit. And so then we'll set the value of this one to ThisItem.Comments. And so just like that, I've got the hello comment in there. So this is important to note for a couple reasons. One is if when you go to do this, you're not getting the this item, right? When someone has some problems with this, it's probably because you're not inside your gallery, right? So right now I'm in my gallery. So when I add things in here, this item is available. If I add this label, let's not do that. Let's delete that one. If I add another label, so if I click over here and insert a label, all right, so put it right here, and I go into this and I started typing this item is not a thing, right? Because I'm not in a gallery. There is no item selected. So if you're not seeing this item when you're trying to add controls and things like that, or add controls and things, that's because you're outside the gallery. So the easiest way to make sure you do that, click on gallery 1 over here, and then when you say insert a label, I didn't click on gallery 1. I told you to do it, and I didn't do it. There you go. Click on gallery 1, right? So I'm in there. We'll say insert a label. Oh, Power Apps, you're being mean to me. Let me get rid of all this garbage. make sure I'm in here. I'm in here. All right, let's try this one more time. Insert a label. There we go. So now that I'm in the label, right? And so I had to make sure I had my mouse over here as well, right? I had to have everything about it inside this control. But now I can see that label 13 is under gallery 1. So then now I know that this item is a proper thing to use. So, right, even sometimes I have a hard time with it. So don't feel bad if you're trying to work through and get those to work. Okay? So, but that was the thing I wanted to point out. You can go in and you can adjust these things. You can set the controls. You can change the sizes. One of my solutions I just did for a customer, we ended up making the gallery kind of like a form, right? So I ended up having fields they could fill out in here inside of a gallery. And then there was a submit button, and then it just went and checked all of the items in the gallery for ones that had been edited. And then all the ones that were edited, it did a patch and pushed it back out. Had to get a little creative, but that's what you do, right? So I turned my gallery cards into forms, and you can do that too. All right, so now I'm starting to ramble, so I'm gonna stop talking. Hopefully this helped. This is just a reminder, ask me questions, right? Ask me on Twitter, on the comments below, email me at boldzebras, whatever you want, send me questions. That's where these videos keep coming from, is just people asking the right questions. I'm like, oh, I think everyone would want to know that. And so I made this video, all right? So thanks, and have a great day. Hey, it's me again. Just a reminder, if you don't mind, click the old subscribe button over here. That always helps me out. Or if you want to work together, you can always hit me up through the Bold Zebras. Or if really what you want is some more of these Power App videos, which is probably what you want, then the playlist is somewhere on the screen here. All right, thanks. Have a great day.